Well, it's martini time. It's a beautiful Thursday here in Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world, but then you're the center too. So, let's see what our monkey will find today. You know, I just had the thought that the more I do this, these walking up to the edge of the plank and stepping off, I mean, because that's what Facebook Live, that's what live is, particularly Facebook Live. You just walk up there and step off. There's no teleprompter. I didn't write down what I'm going to say. I didn't think what I was going to say. I have no idea what I'm going to say. So it's kind of a Zen thing. And I just wrote a new description of me on my Facebook status. And Ed is a Zen writer and creative Facebook speaker, or a Facebook speaker who creates insight dialogues. And I don't know if anybody else has coined that word, but an insight dialogue is a conversation that creates insight. And so I find that when I come to Facebook Live in the morning at usually around 8 to 9 and at 5 o'clock with my martini, so I create insight and I share them with you because I have the insights while I'm talking to you. So I wanted to talk about, my throat also plugs up too, about the double bind. Now this double bind, I keep talking to you about this all the time because I'm always discovering double binds in my own life. And a double bind is when you have two contradictory commandments or wills. And they're mutually dependent, so you can't eliminate one of them, but you can't obey both of them at the same time. A good example, now if you have any little kids, toddlers, or you see other people with them, this is a beautiful example one right here. So there's something, a little vase or something on the coffee table, and the 2-year-old spies it, and he goes to that, like a tiger going to a goat. And the mother sees that and says, "Don't touch that." And then the little kid looks at the mother and goes right ahead and touches it. And she's now really pissed. "You looked at me and then you touched it. Don't you do that again." Now what happened there? The kid's caught in a double bind. The child, it's not a kid. The toddler's will is to touch and explore and build his brain through feeling and exploring new objects. He's in a sensory motor development of his brain. So he has to touch and lick and taste and smell and bite, everything. Because he's not thinking abstractly like we do. He's got to be the object. He's got to get it and hold it and work it. And he builds his brain that way. That's his will. That's his DNA. But he also has not an opposite will, but he also has another commandment. Obey the mother. Obey the mother. Now he's caught in a double bind here. Obey his will, obey his mother. The mother says don't touch it. And if he does touch it, wah. Now that breaks the circuit of his learning. Now he learns if I touch, I get spanked. If I touch something and learn something, I'm disobeying the mother. So now he's going to have a crippled learning process. Whenever he's presented with something new, don't touch. You see? That's just a classic double bind. You can see them everywhere. Right in the kitchen. I have a nice big, actually it's a huge brandy sniffer. You know, it's about this big. And it sits on the table and I have a beta in it. He's an old fish, had him for 3 or 4 years. He's got his fins are so long you can't even swim. He just kind of like lies around and looks up and waits for the food to come, and then he'll gets a bite and comes back down. The cat loves to sit there and look at the fish. So we keep blocking it. You know, put plants and put stuff around it, and the cat knocks the stuff over. Yesterday we had a little plant there and he knocked it over all over the floor. So there's two wills there. There's the will of the cat to look at and probably try to catch the fish, right? The will of nature. And then there's my will. You know, don't mess with the fish. So what I do, said, all right, I'm going to get in harmony with the will of nature. So I just removed everything and put the fish bowl there so he can sit next to it without knocking stuff over. I mean, it's real big, so I'm pretty sure he can't push it over, the fish bowl. But at least now he can sit there, and he's not going to catch the fish because the fish goes down to the bottom. At least it does when I try to catch it. So anyway, this whole idea of working with the will of nature instead of contradicting it is an essential ingredient for the solving of or transcending the double bind. You go with the flow. You find ways to move with nature instead of contradicting it. The child wants to touch. So either you baby-proof the place and remove the expensive stuff, or you just put him in front of another interesting object and let him touch that. In other words, you work with the nature. You work with the will instead of against it. Because if we work against it in ourselves, we end up in a fibrillation. I think that's the word for the heart. When it can't beat, it loses its rhythm. Stop it. That's what you, when the heart gets, you shot. Boom, boom, boom. Thank you. See, slap, somebody gets in a panic. Bam. Batman. Bam. You see, wake up. You get in a feedback loop. The feedback loop is when both choices are lose. You see, with the kid, if he chooses to feel, to touch the object, he loses. If he obeys, if he doesn't touch anything, he loses. Lose, lose. Look for that. You can see it everywhere. In the supermarket, you see it everywhere. Particularly with little kids. Stop learning. Bam. All right. Okay. Who knows how deep these imprints are? Who knows what damage they do? Because a lot of these, I've read a little bit about child development, and a lot of these stages of learning are stage specific. If they don't do it then, they don't do it. They miss the window. If you don't do the stage specific growth of the brain, you miss it. And then you're kind of like retarded, a little bit backwards, a little bit makeup. I think a lot of our alt-right, if you look at the marchers, and I'll say the Nazis are alt-right because alt-right just kind of like it's an umbrella now, you know, kind of like, but there are a lot of angry young men. Now, what is an angry young man but an adolescent, a retarded adolescent, an arrested development? They missed the passage to completion. They missed the initiation. They missed the passage to manhood. So they're stuck in a adult body, adult mind, but an emotional adolescent. Their emotional system is stuck in adolescence, and they're in a intellect and body of a man. Oh, fibrillation. They're angry. So of course they're going to join any kind of an angry group. That's what adolescents do. They join adolescent tribes, gangs. And of course, once you get in a gang, a group, you surrender your individual conscience to it because you belong to the group. You are the group. You are the gang. You are the tribe. You are the religion. You are the trump. You have surrendered your isolation, your separation of being able to see independently. You see through the eyes of what you belong to. Their eyes are your eyes. Trump's eyes are your eyes. Liberal eyes are your eyes. You see through what you belong to. And we join groups in order to obey the commandment to belong, to be part of a greater whole. It's a commandment. Be one. Obey. That's the religious commandment. You know, the two commandments in American life are contradictory. They create one commandment is obey God. Obey patriotism. Obey your country. If your country goes to war, you go. You don't question it. Obey. Right? That's patriotism. Country right or wrong. If your country lynches black people, obey. That's what you do. That's what you're speaking in the South. If the South has apartheid, if the South has segregation, don't question it. That's just the way it is. You may say, oh, well, I don't know, but this is the way it is. I don't question it. I don't confront it. You see, this is just the way things are, you see. So that's what happens when we obey that commandment and don't obey the other commandment, which is to be a unique, independent, rational consciousness that has its own center in itself. You see, when we belong, we put our center in the group. We put our center in the religion. We put our center in Trump or whatever we belong to. That's our center. We saw this in Arizona. I did a talk this morning. I hope you go back and pick it up. I really liked it. I didn't get as many views as I do usually in martini time because everybody's having a drink right now. You know, they're home from work, you know, and these are a little looser. I don't have a whiteboard, you know. So, and I guess people just like to see me drink a martini. But anyway, the talk this morning was on the two Trumps. The Phoenix, Arizona Trump and the Reno Trump. And I thought this was really a great insight. I had it when I was writing about it after I gave the talk. But Phoenix, the Phoenix bird, is the firebird that rises out of its own ashes, and this is the metaphorical symbol of Zoroastrianism in ancient Persia, which is has the same power in their religion and mythology as the cross has in Christianity. You see, the firebird that rises out of its own ashes. This is a Greek myth, and it's Zoroastrianism. And it should be our myth. It's also you could look at Jesus as the dying and resurrected Son, as the firebird. The firebird dies into the funeral pyre and rises out of the ashes. He dies and is resurrected. You see. So the death is the horns of the dilemma. And when we find a way to transcend that, we are resurrected in whole. The eclipse was all about that. The path of totality. I love that. People were following the path of totality. And when you got there, you said, we're in the totality now. I love it. But anyway, this, I lost my thought now. So we're following the path of totality. In Zen, it would be called the path of Dharma, following the Dharma path. So Dharma path is the totality, is that moment where you are one with the world. there's no more horns of dilemma. There's no more double bind of you against yourself, of you against the world. The division, the two commandments that can't be obeyed simultaneously. So when you transcend that, when you're in the totality, what you do is what you are. There's no split. So getting back to Trump in Reno. So when he went to Phoenix, he was the firebird. The funeral pyre was the rally, and Trump arose out of it. The president went there and died. The president, as an office, went to Phoenix and rose as Trump. And you can hear the spontaneity, the strength, the power in his speech. He was home, and everybody roared. They were all one, feeding each other. This is called a virtuous circle. A virtuous circle is like making love. You see, that's two opposites, male, female. And in love, they're feeding each other. You look into your lover's eyes, and you go, wow, 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 wow. But it's not a negative. It's not a fear. It's an ecstasy, an expansion, an abyss in which you just have no boundaries. No boundaries. So when Trump gets with his rally, when he goes to Phoenix, no boundaries, no script, no teleprompter. He's Facebook Live. But then he goes to Reno. And then I thought this, Reno, the city of divorce. Not so much now, but it used to be, particularly back in the Johnny Carson days. Reno meant you're going to get a divorce. You could get a divorce like that. It's the capital of divorce. Las Vegas, you could go lose everything. Reno, you lose your marriage. Go to Nevada and lose something. I lost my virginity in Nevada. Just a side note, I got 19, I was hitchhiking across the country. Got a ride with a guy going through Nevada, and he stopped at a whorehouse. They've legal there. He said, "You want to go to a whorehouse? You want to see a whorehouse?" Well, he says, "Well, I'll pay for it." What could a 19-year-old do? Say, you know. So I know Nevada. Well, that's funny. So anyway, so Trump lost it. He went to Nevada and got divorced from himself. You remember that? If you saw the Reno speech, he was reading a teleprompter. He was born. He didn't like it. He felt disconnected. Whenever he gives a teleprompter speech, that he's a presidential speech, whenever he's presidential, he feels he's self-loathing. He loathes himself. He hates himself. Why do I have to do this? Oh, God. It's like do I have to eat this broccoli? Oh, God. Do I have to put on a coat and tie? Oh, God, you see. But then put with his gang, put him with these guys, you put him with his peers, with these people. He's alive, you see. Well, are we saying that Trump is a arrested development? Anyway, but you get the idea. I just love this juxtaposition of two cities that were metaphors for the two Trumps. The tale of two Trumps. And so he did it with the Charlottesville. Now a friend of mine says, why do you always talk about Trump? Why don't you talk about Hillary? What about Hillary's emails? Well, if you have steak in front of you, you're going to eat Spam. You know what I mean? Trump is rich in metaphorical leaps into our own psychology. Trump is a Shakespearean character, a character. He'll be a great character in our literature, like the Great Gatsby. These great characters who are conflicted. A non-conflicted person is boring. A perfect person is boring. You know, a lot of ministers are so perfect, morally perfect. They're so boring. We like a little sauce. We like a little inconsistency. We like a little ambiguity. We like great contrasts and contradictions. We like that makes a great character. It's conflicted. All the great personalities are Einstein, all of them. They're 1 minute they're just genius, and next minute they're just slapping the shit out of you or something like that. Inconsistent, you see, because they hold these tensions, they hold these great contradictions in them. And a lot of times they're comedians, and their art is a creation of, is a way to transcend the contradictions. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe this Facebook Live and my writing on Facebook is my art, and I use it to transcend the contradictions of my persona and my little everyday personality. So I don't talk like this in everyday world. I don't talk like this to my wife. You know, we talk about household stuff. You know, what are you going to get at Walmart? You know, interesting stuff like that. She's gone for the day, so we can talk. So, but here, you know, this is kind of like this is a check my time, but this is a little free space where I'm not contradicted. You see, there's no what do you mean by that, or you know, there's no. I don't want to get into this. I mean this, but anyway, I think you get what I mean. We all have these spaces, and this is what the Phoenix is. So maybe Facebook Live is my Phoenix. I step into Facebook Live and my old everyday personality, my persona, with all my history and my inconsistencies and my little fears and my neuroses and my little double binds. They all go into the fire of Facebook Live. And I rise out of the ashes of the dead. This is the cross. No, he thinks he's Jesus. No. No. The cross is the phoenix bird. Your double-binded ego, and all egos are double-binded. All egos are inconsistencies. All egos are caught on the horns of dilemma. Every one of us, every one of our egos is a dilemma. Should I do this? I want to do that. But no, if I do that, I got to do this. If I do this, you know. Blah. Stutter. I have a heart fibrillation. You see. The King's Speech. Remember that movie? So all of our egos are that. That's what an ego is. An ego is a double bind, a horns of a dilemma. We have moments of relief. We have moments of panic. So we look for the phoenix bird. We look for Phoenix, where that can die into the fire of the moment. And we can just be the moment, and we trust it. We can just be the fire of now, and we trust it. It's a fearless state. It's a trusting, it's a faith state. I have faith that I will speak something sane. I have faith that I won't be gibberish. I have faith that there's an intention in this talk that I can't even see. I have faith that we're going somewhere together. And so I come to Facebook Live as Trump went to Phoenix, where I lose my conflicted self. Should I do this or that? Should I have 2 scoops of tea, of sugar, or 1? the song of J. Alfred Prufrock of T.S. Eliot. Check that poem out. Thanks for dropping in. I'll see you in the morning.